Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Matthew Quilliam. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing as it really helps me out. Don't forget to like this video as well. Now I'm back doing some more book reviews again. I have missed them, and so let's dive straight in with a book by Lyle Ritz. Lyle Ritz was a very successful musician, not just on the ukulele. He played in loads of records on the bass and things, very famous records. You've probably heard some of the songs he's played on. And he was also very famous for playing jazz on the ukulele, specifically coming up with jazz voicings and proper arrangements of songs. And he was kind of one of the first people to really do so, or at least do so very successfully. This is more of a modern jazz style. Of course, the ukulele was very big during the sort of early jazz eras of the early 1900s, but then this is kind of a little bit later than this. This takes sort of swing and sort of later music in the jazz repertoire and puts it on the ukulele in a more, relatively speaking, more modern jazz style, which I think is fantastic. And this is one of his books. This is 25 classic songs arranged for the ukulele. Now, this is different to some of his other books, who are also published by Jumpin' Jim. He has a book, Ukulele Solos, 15 solos, which I'm going to cover in the next review video. That book contains some chord melodies, so arrangements that you can strum and get the tune out of at the same time. This, however, is just the chords, the lyrics and the notation of the tune, so a more stripped back version of that book, if you like. And I think this is a fairly decent book for what it sets out to do. It comes with a free CD. This was published back in the times when CDs were the latest thing, I believe 2001. 2001 this book was released. So this is quite ahead of its time, or at least very much setting its time, if you like, with seeing other ukulelists to play more sort of advanced jazz since Lyle, but he was really one of the first to do it, and this is one of his books. And we've got 25 classic songs. You're guaranteed to know all of these. Feel free to pause this and have a quick look at the song list, or alternatively find the songs on find the book listing and look at the song list there. Something that is noticeable is that not all the songs have a CD track, which is slightly disappointing, but the main ones, are the most famous ones, are included on the CD, such as All the Things You Are, Autumn Leaves, and Fly Me to the Moon. So that's fantastic. You actually get quite a lot of biography in this book. I'm not going to tell you much more about Lyle Ritz because it's all in the book itself. So if you want to go and have a read, it's a fascinating read. He's got albums of ukulele in a jazz band with drums and flute and stuff. It's fantastic, as well as solo ones, obviously. And you get lots of detail and lots of instructions. And then this is kind of what the main music looks like, really. As I said, you've got chords at the top and then the tune written there. Something that I think is really fascinating is you actually get a second set of chords. So you get what Lyle deems sort of standard tuning, which is the chords on the top. And those are the chords names and the chord shapes that will be appropriate for a standard GCEA tuning, the standard tuning that we all know and love, available, or it works with both high and low G. And then underneath we have this second set of chords, which are the same chord names, but they're different shapes. And you'll notice that they're labelled as tenor. Now, in today's ukulele practices, you might think, why does the tenor ukulele have a different set of chords? Well, back in 2001, when the book was written, the tenor ukulele used to be tuned DGBE, just like how we tune our baritone ukuleles nowadays. In fact, historically, the ukulele has had various shiftings of status quo. Some tunings will be standard for a while, and then others, and traditionally in the past, people would tune their sopranos really high, up to D or E flat, and then their tenors maybe to B flat, and the baritones all the way down to G and things like that. So it's interesting here how the tenor ukulele is in this lower tuning. I think that's really cool, and a nice little historical artifact that's carried over, given the book is still in print. So don't be put off by the tenor indication. Nowadays we would call that baritone. But nevertheless, you get both sets of chords, which I think is fantastic. You can learn the songs in 2 keys. You could even play the bottom set of shapes in GCEA tuning if you wanted to play the chords in a different key, but then of course the melody wouldn't match up. Nevertheless, you do get the melody. You do have to be able to read music. Obviously there's no ukulele tablature, but if you can read music then you can pick out the melody, which is fantastic. And you get all these songs printed in a really crisp, nicely detailed, very clear fashion, with lots of spacing so that it's all very nicely laid out. And yeah, you've got absolutely tons and tons of songs. Some great songs, some lesser known songs and everything. I think this is really great. And then you get a little bonus feature at the end as well, which is a proper chord arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon. You can see here how there's a little bit more detail on the page. We've this time got 2 different melody lines and just one set of chord shapes. And this is because the chord shapes are what are important in this arrangement versus the tune being the dominant thing. So you've got the tune in 2 different keys here, and then the shapes stay the same, and you've got the tenor chord names underneath. So you play the shapes, and the shapes will give you the chord melody. This is exactly what the tunes are like in the other blue book. So if you're looking to incorporate the melody into the chords and play in a very Ritzian style, then the other book might suit you more. Alternatively, you can just use this one as an inspiration and make up your own arrangements with the other songs here. You've got all the chords and the notation. I think that's fantastic. A couple of drawbacks with this book. I think it's quite a product of its time. I said it was ahead of its time earlier, but now we've got the internet and everything. So many people have got arrangements of jazz and things. We also have an app called iReal Pro, which for about £13 you get access to a library of hundreds of chord charts of songs. Now you don't get the melody like you do here, but you do get all the chords, and you can transpose the song instantly into all 12 keys, which you obviously can't do with a book, and you can even get little picture diagrams of the ukulele chords as well. So if you had someone else singing the melody, or playing the melody, or if you happen to know the tune already and you were singing it yourself, then I would recommend iReal Pro, because that gives you loads more music and more chord charts than this does. Of course, we just live in the digital age. You can also get the real book as well, which is a book of about 200 or 300 jazz songs as well, all again with notation like in here, and with chord names but no chord diagrams for ukulele because they're written for all instruments. And often jazz musicians will take either the iReal Pro or the real book to gigs, and with their extensive catalogues then they work really nicely because you can pick out any song you like. This is quite limited, so I'd say this is more for someone who's looking to learn into strumming some jazz. You will encounter lots of extra little chord types. You've got a load of diminished and half diminished and sharp fives and all this kind of stuff going on, which can sound quite intimidating to someone who's only played triads before, the sort of basic just single letter names. So this is a really great way into learning some songs with some more complicated chords. Gets your left hand technique much better, gets you more aware of the whole fretboard, introduces you to new chords and new flavours and new ways of thinking about music. So it is very good in that regard, but I do think it has its limitations given that we now live in the digital age. Obviously the book at the time, you could never foresee such a thing, but it is still very interesting nonetheless, especially for someone like me who's interested in the historical aspects. Something else that I do like about the book is that you get how to strum these chords in a very particular way to one individual. It's very important if you're learning any style to look at who are the main contributors to that style, and maybe to at least explore the ways that those musicians played. For example, the iReal app that I spoke about earlier that has the chord diagrams, they may just be the computer generated chord diagrams, whereas Lyle Ritz will give you his own versions and maybe some chord substitutions, some alterations. So obviously you can learn about a particular person's style, which I think is really neat as well in this particular book. Overall then, I think the book is really well produced. It's really nice, it's really glossy and shiny as you can see, really high quality as well, and I think it's very clear on the inside. You've got a good catalogue of songs and lots of information on the inside as well. But it is a lot packed into one place, so I'd recommend it if you're learning jazz and just starting to get into playing the style. Thank you so much for watching. Next time we're going to look at another book of Lyle Ritz, as I said, his Solos book, which is a bit more akin to what the Fly Me to the Moon arrangement was like. So do make sure you're subscribed to catch that. I also do lots of other videos, some performance videos, some music videos, some teaching, etc. So do stick around, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.